Or the first part after the lunch. So what we're going to be talking about is navigating success, the lean compass to effective problem solving. So I'm going to be talking a lot and linking it to what we've heard earlier this morning. Okay, but from trying to solve problems and understanding what it is that we need to do related to organization transformation, initiating the agile culture, or continuous improvement.
Sorry. No, for real. Sure. Yeah. So, what we're going to be talking about and covering is any change, any transformation, any problem, okay, that we face in the organization, okay, has the same steps that we need to follow to be successful. And we've heard a lot this morning about leadership, people, and how can we engage the organization to transform. So I'm going to be not teaching you the tools or any concepts, but more of the people, the mindset on how do we approach this. So I'm going to show you a picture, okay, and I would like you to tell me what do you see. But I'll give you 1 minute, okay, to absorb and try to figure out what that is in the picture, and then I'll ask you to shout it out if you can figure out what that is. So, yeah, thank you for the partners, and good one. Although I said I'll give you 1 minute, and this is practice, so you don't do that. Okay, so if you caught me that way, okay. So, what do you see? I'll give you 1 minute to think and try to figure out what's up there. I can tell you might have figured it out.
If I see what like the horizontal view and then maybe
No. It is as it is. It's a vertical thing. Okay.
The blueprint of the entrance of our car.
ladder, somebody is stepping on someone. Okay.
It's a three snake game.
So, as I'm getting answers, anyone can tell me what they see? That's what most people think that you're trying to figure out the maze. The thing is, when I give you the answer and you're able to see it, they say you're never unable to unsee it. So you're always going to be able to see it. Okay, you can't work your mind. And before I give you the answer, this is what happens with problems. We face them and we're standing thinking, how do we solve it? What do we need to do? How do we? And basically it takes us several iterations, several months or few weeks to solve it. Okay, and then we go, that was easy, or that's how we do it. But what you see here is a capital letter E. Okay, so that's a letter E. So once you see it, okay, I didn't hear you, sorry. Okay, so a capital letter E. But before that, it was just random lines. So how does our mind work when we are facing something new? Okay, the human brain, okay, dealing with problems, okay, is always jumping into an unknown territory. We're facing something new, we never seen before, we have no idea how it works, okay? And what happens is, us as human beings, we have what we call threshold of knowledge, okay? How much we know and what can we solve based on our previous experience. So always with problems, you're jumping into something completely new, okay? You're not familiar with, you don't know what do we need to do, how do we solve it, how do we handle the situation. So there's always the questions. How do I deal with this? How do I approach it? How do I get people to think differently? Okay, so what happens is, human nature and how we're wired is, we build prediction on previous experiences. So we pull back from our previous experiences, companies, roles, similar problems. What have we done? How did we solve it? What's something similar to what we're facing? Okay, and what comes into play as we pull back on our experiences is our biases. Okay, so biases come into play, and I'm going to talk about two main biases that we usually take role as we face new problems. The first bias is confirmation bias. What in this problem resonates with something similar that I can confirm okay, that I've solved it. It worked. We can do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to do another experiment with you related to this. Okay, and this is where it's very interesting. Okay, where the confirmation bias comes based on experience, and it works really well. Okay, when we're talking about daily issues, problems, how we handle things, because you don't want to start new for every single time you're facing a problem. But what happens is we go back to our experience, we say this is what it works. So as an example, you're driving your car, someone puts an indicator and tries to basically go into your lane. You naturally hit the brakes, or depending on where you are in the world, you might speed up to stop him getting into your lane. Okay, so that depends how you react. But again, we know what's going to happen, so I act based on previous experiences. So as half of this sentence is hidden, most probably, most of you are able to read what do you think correctly. So what do you think? Okay, so let's do another one.
Are you sure you can read this? Okay.
Okay, but are you sure you can read this? But let's do this again. Your brain still reads it. Are you sure you can read this? Okay, even though I showed you the answer that it's not, but the brain works on trying to pull based on experience. And this is where confirmation bias, when we're faced with something completely new, the first thing we try is doing that, what worked, and we keep trying it. And we go through this confirmation bias multiple iterations, okay, where I take previous experience, bring it into the play, try it, doesn't work, go to something different, and I keep doing that. Eventually, you would give up. So the next bias that comes into play is action bias. We need to be seen just doing anything. Do something. Make it work. Jump into whatever it is, just make it work. Okay? And I can take you back to the COVID period where anything, masks, distance, all that, although later on, a lot of research and there's a lot of debate about this, which we're not going to go into it, but did it work or no? But we needed to do something, okay, to stop the spread of the disease at the time. So you need to do this. And again, you do one thing, two things. So you go again through several iterations of trying to do something to make it work. And if it doesn't, that's what happens. That's when we hit panic, okay? Nothing is working. Our experience is not giving us the solution. And whatever we're trying differently is still not working. And this is where you hit a roadblock and you panic. So how do we handle problems? And how do we start to teach ourselves this? Mike Rother, okay, who did research on Toyota, a lot of work over the last 70 years was looking at Toyota from the physical world, what they did, the 5S, the 7 waste, and all the tools and the activities. So he said, I would do a research, what can I see the unseen, which is the mindset and the coaching and the mentality, the storytelling of what happened. And he came with the concept of the scientific thinking. And what scientific thinking is not trying to make people scientists, but it's a methodology on how do we approach, how do we handle problems, and how do we think. So he said the basis of this are 3 elements. The first one, acknowledge limits to what we know. So first thing, we have to admit to ourselves that we don't know everything. We have limit to what we know. The second one, assuming that answers will be found by test, not just theorizing. We're not going to learn, because this is what happens in boardrooms, meetings, debate. Your idea, my idea. Their idea, this business unit idea, okay? And we debate which one is going to work without testing it. And we waste a lot of time theorizing. So he's saying what we need to do is by practice and putting things into place, we're going to learn. And the last one is appreciating the value of learning, okay? The difference between our theories and prediction and what actually happened, okay? Because no matter what we do, there's always a prediction in our head, okay, of what the outcome is going to be. I got into my car this morning, I expect the GPS told me, and I expect to arrive in 20 minutes, okay? So even if I'm not conscious about it, okay, there is a prediction of what an answer or what's the results going to be. So there is always a learning. And this is important. A lot of the time we hear about, let's reflect, okay, when we fail. But what happens in Toyota, okay, and the lean thinking, you also reflect about why things worked, what went well that got us to the results that we've achieved. So there's always reflection. So these are the 3 pillars from a mindset of thinking. How do we need to approach, okay, the problems? I don't know everything. I'm going to practice the theories, which is what we heard about this last presentation before the lunch. They came up every quarter. They would put theories, and they will go out and test them. It fails, and exactly that's what they call it, experiment. If it fails, okay, put it aside. Let's do something else till they find something. And the important element, which most probably hasn't been said, okay, the weekly meeting is where the reflection happens, how they're progressing, what they're learning, how can they develop related to this. And this is where you're adding to the first part, the knowledge base that you have, okay, where you can build on your experience and knowledge. We come to, again, when we talk about problem solving, a lot of the time we think about problems, okay, about issues that we are facing, that there is a gap from the standard, okay? But Art Smalley, which is one of, again, the gurus in the world of the lean thinking, who worked in Toyota early in his career, came up, summarized his work into defining the problems into 4 types of problems, okay? And there is a book about this. And what he talks about, he defines the problems into 4 categories, between also splitting it into caused reactive, which is a reactive, or a proactive, okay, approach to how do we handle problems. So the first type of problem, okay, and the thing that he highlights the most, okay, and a lot of companies fall in, most of us work in number 1 and number 4, okay, which is the number 1. I'll come into the explanation of each of these. What does it mean? So the first one, troubleshooting, gap from standard, target condition, open-ended, okay? So what does these 4 categories mean? So the first, these categories are split based on time to resolve, how long does it take us to solve this problem, okay, and the complexity of the problem itself, okay, how complex it is. So the first one, troubleshooting, immediate corrective action, okay, my shoelace went loose, it's very easy, I'll just go down, tie it, problem solved. A flat tire, I'll just fill it up. So these are the easy, immediate actions, okay, that we need to, we know the solution, the root cause, and we fix it. The second one is where most of us focus on and try to say the A3s, the problem solving methodology, the TPS 8 steps, okay? And this is where you've set yourself a target, and basically you're not hitting that target of sales, efficiency, productivity, and then you're thinking, what's happening? What's the reason behind this problem, and what are the root causes for me to achieve? These are, as you can see, reactive. So the event happened, and then I'm reacting to that event to try to hit the 100% of what I'm trying to achieve. When you move to the next one is target setting. The target setting, no. This is where in some companies, some departments are always hitting their targets 100%, okay? And they say, you don't need to look at us. We're always good. So what they're saying, and this is where they use the interchangeably, previously, the word Kaizen and problem solving as synonyms, where in reality there's a huge difference between problem solving and a Kaizen, okay? Problem solving is I'm closing the gap, which is what I've explained in type 2. Kaizen is continuous improvement, where I hit my target and I've achieved it, and I'm trying to raise the bar. So I'm creating a hypothetical problem of raising the bar to try to reach it. And here you're trying to be more creative on what can I do differently to achieve that gap, close that gap, to changing the methodology, the approach, the structure of how we do the work. Okay, so when you look at target setting is going beyond stretching yourself. And then the last one is innovation oriented, which is the R&D, the development of new products, new services, new apps, where you're looking for the future, 3 years, 5 years, what is the new trend, what's going to happen. So you're thinking out of the box and trying to innovate within. So all these are within the same realm of problem solving. I have an issue, I'm trying to solve it. I have a gap, I want to close that gap. How do I approach it and what do I do? The biggest problem when he wrote this book, okay, and I've attended his session luckily when he was doing the launch, he said, he talks about the US. predominantly because he did his research there. But I say it's applicable everywhere in the world. Most companies, when you look, they work in number 1 and number 4. We're always troubleshooting, trying to get the work to run, and we're focusing on number 4. What is the next big bang our company is going to achieve, okay, to start? He highlights that within the organization, not every person or every department, but within the organization, all 4 need to be working. Okay, so we need to focus on all of them. We can't just say forget about troubleshooting, because this is a lot of what we hear in the Agile, in the Lean. Troubleshooting is the wrong way. You're not supposed to troubleshoot. Problem solve, reach to the root cause. But if we do that, and we need to think deep about everything, business stops. So the business needs to run. So you cannot eliminate troubleshooting. But how do I manage within the organization the right level of each of these types of problem solving? And this is where it's important to understand the different levels and which one are you trying to achieve. Are you a reactive or are you a proactive within the problem or the initiative that you're doing as a transformation, or is it a performance issue of the company, a target that you need to achieve? This is the second type of the problem solving, okay? And most of you, I would assume, already are familiar with it. The 8 steps of problem solving that you've heard about. Just going quickly through them. Issue identification or target has not been met. Okay, so I've identified the issue. Then clarify problem, collect data and information. Problem definition and set the target. Root cause analysis, develop countermeasures, implement and monitor, and then eventually standardize and share success. And we've all seen this in books, presentations, we've been taught all that a lot of multiple times. What usually people do not tell you, okay, it's not a smooth ride of, yes, you're going to do this, you'll figure it out, and everything is going to work perfectly from the first round that you go. Okay? And once you get the presentation, if you click on the link, it'll take you to an article that I've written about this. Okay? What really happens, we go through all this process and we come to the implementation and monitor, okay, to identify, did the solution that we put in place work or not? We realize it's not. So what happens is, you might need to go back one step. What other countermeasures did we have? Because you might come up with multiple countermeasures, okay? So this one didn't work, so I might try something different. But what you've realized, 1 minute, I might have the wrong countermeasures, so I didn't identify the right root cause, okay? So we've said this is the root cause, and then we realize, 1 minute, it's not the right root cause. But then you might identify, 1 minute, our problem definition wasn't correct in some cases. So we defined the problem wrong, so we went completely down a different path. Or from development. And sometimes the data that you collected is not reliable or not complete. So the journey of the problem solving is not a smooth ride. You'll keep going forward, backward, and as you can see, the arrows indicate how many iterations you might need to go, and you need to be brave to go back, okay? Because sometimes I've reached to the end. Do I really want to start from the beginning? Do I want to look as not an expert? I'm facilitating this workshop. I'm running this problem solving. How can I go and say, no, we got it wrong? And I'm going to talk about this in the next few slides, okay? No, it is about, and this is where the beauty of the A3 in Toyota, it's paper and it's handwritten. And if you give in a paper which is totally clean, which what we used to in the Western part compared to Japan, I would say, okay? We always like to write it when the story is complete. We hand clean. For them, it's all about how many scribbles, erasing. It's unneat because it's a live document of how many iterations, how many times you went forward, backward on trying to solve that problem. What we need to do is, okay, in plain simple English, okay, dig deeper. And it's the 5 Ys, 1 H. I'm not going to go through this, but it's just as a reference for you on, depending on the problem, again, you need to define what the problem that you're trying to do. Is it an organizational transformation? Is it a small departmental issue? Or is it a small station, okay? What level do I need to reach to, and what sort of data information analysis do I need to carry out? Okay, so it goes from site as an organization into an individual. So you need to keep asking the questions to identify what am I trying to solve? At what level? Keep in mind, no matter which level you're solving will have an impact on all the others. So if I change something in an organization, it will have an impact on an individual and vice versa. So everything is interlinked. But from a deep diving into the problem that I'm trying to solve, I need to figure out and be aware what level am I trying to solve. We come to, this is, I would say, the core of what I would like to talk about today, related to the problem solving. How to approach problems. As a facilitator, as a leader, or as an individual who's approaching a problem, okay, you need to have courage to be honest, humility to listen and learn, and then the last one, discipline to execute. Okay, what do I mean by these three pillars? Okay, of when you approach the problem. So let's jump into the first one. And this is not a comprehensive list, but it gives you an idea of what do we need to have as a mindset, as a belief, as an approach when we are faced with a problem. First of all, admit and recognize the problem. A lot of us hide it or shift it. Well, no, we don't have a problem. I don't want to look bad. Okay, so I do not admit that we are having a problem. So having the courage and saying, by the way, we have a problem. I'll give you a small story. I was doing at an organization, an operational director, we're putting their KPI boards up. So we put it at the lowest level, at the shop floor, at the factory level. So when it came to the director, okay, we said, you're going to have your board up. But it was him only compared to all other departments. From an operations, the supply chain didn't, the quality didn't, the financial didn't. So they asked me, where do we put it? I said, put it outside in the corridor. He said, no, why should I have mine out where everyone can see it and get comments? So he hid it in his office eventually. Okay, because I don't work, I help. Okay, he chose. It never got live, it never worked because it's hidden in his office. So the first one is having the courage to say, I admit, yes, we have a problem. What do we need to do? Embrace transparency. How bad is that problem? Okay, is it a 30%, 50%? What do we need to do? So it's not just saying, yes, we have a problem, but the transparency of giving data, again, being aware of the confidentiality, the criticality of things, not just going transparent completely, but being able to say, this is how bad it is. This is what we have at hand. Fact-based. Again, based on fact, it's not my opinion. It's not what I'm saying. Look, the market reads that our sales is dropping by 20%. Okay, so it's based on research, it's based on data that we've collected, so it's not opinionated. So I can say, and we can defend and discuss the situation. And the last one, stay honest under pressure. So we can say, yes, all is good and everything, but suddenly we have let's say we have a problem with a product launch or a submission to a client, okay, and we have 1 month. Okay, and we face a problem. Yes, we're going to deliver on time. Yes, everything is perfectly fine. So under pressure, again, it's important to talk and have the courage to say, no, we're not. Okay, there's a lot of case studies and a lot of issues related to this courageousness. Okay, one of them is the Apollo 13, where an engineer identified a problem, highlighted, but because of the pressure and everything, everyone just shushed him and said, and it resulted in death of people. Okay, so this is, hopefully we don't have situation of people's lives in our hands, but how can we handle this where we can highlight, yes, we have a problem, let's discuss it and let's identify what we can do. The second one, humility to listen and learn. Going back to the slide of the threshold of knowledge, maybe I'm the highest title in the room. I don't need to be the one who holds all the answers, or I'm the one who knows everything. But in a lot of organizations, especially in the Middle East, I would say, the higher up is the person who knows everything. We go and refer to them because that's their position. So they should be able to answer. So how do you approach it? Accept you don't have all the answers, which is, I go in as a consultant a lot of the times, and because I'm standing here, people look at me and go, Waleed, what's the answer? And I say, I don't have a magic wand. I have no clue what it is. And this is, again, going to the courage of saying, I don't know. We're going to figure it out, and most probably you have the answers, not me. I'm just going to facilitate this. Seek and accept feedback and input from others. Have open conversations. Get people to feel safe to argue, object, and come back and say, no, I don't think this is the right answer. Ask, are we moving in the right direction? Okay, so asking for feedback. Am I doing the things correct? Am I missing something? So people can come and help while you're solving the problem. Embrace learning from failures. So we're not gonna, this is one of the things, when I run transformation with companies, okay, I say to them, one mindset that we need to change is, you're gonna get it right from the first time, otherwise do not do it. We need to change that mindset of, no, we're gonna fail a lot of the time, okay, till we get it right. So we need to embrace these failures. But it's not open-ended where, yes, I failed. No, there is basically, we're learning, we're developing, and we're enhancing our knowledge and experience as we fail on how not to do it. And then the last one is asking more than telling. It's very difficult for all of us. Unless you practice this on a regular basis and remind yourself, okay, you will be telling people. It takes a lot of time. In the beginning, out of experience, I tell, okay? Then eventually you start to ask and get people to think and come up with their opinions and their ideas. We need to be patient. I know with the world that we're in, patience is a virtue nowadays, okay? It should have been solved not yesterday, a week or a month ago, okay? And you should have predicted that it would happen, so you'd put things in place. It's not like, so how do we, and this is one of the elements. When I do transformation, a lot of the senior management say, where are the results? And I say, please bear with me. We're working with the people. I'm gonna deliver results and you're gonna see improvement. But trust me, within 6 months to 1 year, you're gonna sit happy. They're eager, they don't believe, but the ones who take that risk and bear that impatience of wanting results, and they see results, they come and they go, now I see what you're talking about. Because it's the people are thinking, the people are knowing what they need to do. And this is where you're developing this learning, asking, getting them to think. Because a lot of the people, especially I come from a manufacturing background, compared to a lot of you who might be in service or IT project management, the lowest level in manufacturing is usually thought of labor for hands. They don't have minds, they don't have brains, they can't think, okay? And more in this part of the world because they don't have the language. We have the language barrier, okay? Because they come from the Far East or something, so they don't know. Or we bring people, but people are people. Once you get them to work their minds, they can excel. And then the last one is discipline. All this, what I've said, you might have courage and you're listening. But if I'm not acting and doing on what I've identified, it's of no good. So I need to make sure that we have the discipline to execute. And this is push forward despite discomfort, resistance, and setback. People are gonna resist. It's gonna happen, okay? But we have to have the discipline of trying, moving forward, failing, and basically handling the resistance that we have in the organization. Clear plans, not vague intentions. So what are we gonna, it's not like throw a vision, a big buzzword, and say, we're gonna be better, we're gonna increase. No, what is the plan? How are we gonna achieve it? What's the roadmap that people need to work on? What are the milestones? So it's discipline and standards that we need to achieve. Accountable without creating fear. Okay, this is interesting. A lot of time when you come into organization, suddenly, this is where a lot of you might, if you're in the Agile world, you come to department and say, we need to do this. You're setting my targets. Who are you? Why are you setting targets and you're not accountable for it? Okay? You're saying this is what we're gonna be able to achieve. I'm the one who's gonna be responsible to deliver that end of day. Okay? And this is where you're building the culture, okay? Where basically people will be held accountable and they would learn and develop without fearing to go back and say, we have a problem, we have an issue, and basically learning from what they're doing. And then the last thing, maintain consistency with regular progress checks and adjustments, the follow-up. What we've seen in the real life case study, okay? Weekly, okay? Progress, how we've done, what did we do? Are we on the right track? Do we progress? Do we stop? Do we change path? Okay? And this is important on a regular basis that we have the follow-up to say, how well are we performing? So As you can see, this, I've spoken about it from a small problem or even from a transformational level. It applies at every level. And the bigger the project or more money involved in it, the first one becomes more important because you're most probably higher up in the organization, held really accountable, or you're the project manager who needs. So how can I take things forward with these? A couple more slides. Okay. Some questions that matter to dig deeper. And this, again, depends on the type of the problem you're solving. Is it a transformation? Is it a business unit? Or is it a small problem that you're doing? So the first one, what problem are we trying to solve? So just a simple plain, what are we trying to solve? State it. That the reason why we want to state it, that everyone in the room understands where we're moving. What are we facing? The second one, what capability do we need to build? Okay. We might not have the knowledge or the experience related to solving this or how to handle it. So it's something new to us. So what do we need to do? Again, as what they said, their experience, the case study, their experience was in textile. They went into agriculture. So what sort of capabilities do we need to build to learn here? Or cosmetics, completely new world. It's completely different. Yes, there are some that we can transfer, but there are new things that we need to develop. What is the work to be done? The action plan. Okay, what we're going to carry out, what needs to restructure, what processes and systems need to be redesigned. What is the management system we need? How are we going to manage this? Which is following the plan, do, check, act within the lean philosophy, continuous improvement. Okay, what systems to make sure that we're on track? If we're off track, how can we get back on track? And then the last one, depending on the thing, is what are the behaviors and culture we want to build? Okay, sometimes it's a small problem, but we need to change the mindset and the behavior of the people, how to act. A lot of what I've seen in Egypt sometimes is people, from a safety perspective, they're used to the unsafe behavior for years. They grew up with this, jumping over machines, putting their hands into machines, all that. Okay, so here, although we put some systems into place, but there is an important element in the behavior that we need to change. So it depends what type of problem you're facing. You might have to think from a behavior point of view and culture point of view. How can I manage this? What I would like you to think of as we finish this for next steps for you, ask yourself these questions. What is one key insight from today that you can immediately apply to a real problem within your organization? How do you currently approach problems? Okay, do you have a system? Do you have a department? Did you get any training or development of understanding, or is it to your own experience that you've developed it? Which of the three principles, courage, humility, or discipline, do you find most challenging? Okay, in the organization, are people not having the courage to talk about problems? Or they say, but they don't listen? What small change could you make today to improve problem solving in your work as an individual? And then the last question, how can you support others in solving problems effectively? And I leave you with this last quote, okay? Problems will never stop coming, but with the right approach, we will turn every challenge into progress. So problems are going to be there. We like it, we don't like it. It's going to happen. Small, big, the world is always not going to happen as what we expect. So how can we turn it into a challenge to conquer it and move forward? Thank you very much. This is my LinkedIn.
For solving problems, I mean, one common approach is to see how others reacted to the same problem, how
Yes.
they fixed it. I just didn't see this here. Is it included somewhere in the three
So
pillars that you explained?
So the first where we started was basically jumping into our experiences and biases, okay? Where you're looking at what did we face something similar to this, okay? So usually with problems, it's an unknown territory. When we're most probably facing something new we never experienced before, how do I approach something I haven't experienced? But what you're talking about with multinationals or different business units, okay, maybe I'm part of a bigger group. that they had the similar problem, so I can ask for advice and see what they've done and then try to apply it. It might work, it might not work. Okay, this we need to be very clear on, that it might have a similar symptom, but not the same root cause. So drop in sales, but the reason because of drop of sale is here different than here, so I can try it. So yes, you're going back to experiences, knowledge, but when you're facing something novel or something new and trying to apply it, how does it work? And this is important from when you do organizational transformation or trying to develop what we've heard today a lot about the death of Agile and all this. Lean went through this maybe 10 years ago, before the Agile movement started to say the same thing, okay? The whole approach is people try to do copy-paste of different companies. It's working here, let's copy-paste it. And you realize that even if it's the same industry, doing the same products, okay, the system, the culture, the behavior of the place is completely different. So you have to approach it, it's not copy-paste. So how do I approach it in a way that works for them, not just copying? So yes, I rely on experience, I do not deny that. But when it doesn't work, okay, how do I do it? And also important, not to jump directly into, I have the solution. Okay, this is another important element, that you don't just jump, yes, we have the solution. And this is what let's take a step back. Think, reflect, is it similar? Let's analyze, collect data, then say, yes, it's similar, let's try this. No, it's different, we need to think of something different. So there is no, I always say with all this, there's no right answer, okay? You can say, someone can come and say, rely on, yes, every single time we've worked on our experience and it worked. They're lucky. And someone else never worked. So there's different approaches, but having the open-mindedness of how to handle with these three pillars is important.
Thank you very much, and apologies if I missed that part of your presentation, but I have to ask because I came a little bit late.
No.
And what I listened to, I see you have a bit more bias toward the soft issues, like behavioral issues. But what about the tools? Like you mentioned, for example, that call other things. There are lots of tools. I'm sure you know some of it, like the fishbone, like Pareto, or like other tools. These tools sometimes they need capacity building. So where does this stand in your system?
Okay. Okay. So I started by the talk by saying I'm not going to touch on tools and the methodology, because that's a different approach, which you need to teach people the right tool, the 8 steps or Toyota production system approach, to understand how to collect data, how to analyze, how to do all these elements. But it's more of how do we build a culture where people can say, I have a problem, I'm working on solving that problem. It's not about, you can have all the tools, and a lot of organizations we go, you give them the tools, and we've heard about the practices, the tools, but it doesn't work. Why? We've taught them, we've re-taught them, and we re-taught them again, and they know it by heart, but they're not applying it. Why? Because the mindset is hide it, I can't talk about it, or I'm not approaching it in the right way. So the tools are important, and they're the easiest to learn, okay? It takes practice to master it, okay? To learn it and understand what it is, it's very simple and it's the easiest. Changing the behavior on how to approach and being able to handle, yes, we have a problem, yes, we need to solve it, is a complete different challenge, because that's hidden, okay? Because it's the behavior, the approach of people. They can dodge the problem, hide it. One company, give you an example. They go through the same iteration every quarter. They do fridges, and they have plastic drawers that break, that it reaches up to 4,000 drawers that has been broken. That's a hell of a cost. But it keeps hidden. The people learn to hide it till it reaches to that number. Senior management, because they're a group of 4 companies, okay, and 4 factories. When it reaches to that level, they can't pinpoint who is the owner. They get upset, they try to warn and everything, then it goes away because they can't identify the reason behind it. Then, okay, we'll start 0, let's start again. 4 to 6 months, the same problem happens again, because they're hiding it, and no one is owning to the problem. But everyone in the organization is trained, developed in root cause, problem solving. They know how to define the problem, but everyone is just worried about they will hold the blame or the finger to them. And this is where more of the talk is coming from.
Last question.
Hi, I'm Rahul Jaini, and I'm basically helping customers on DevOps practices. And what I realize is, especially for the success of Agile or identifying the problems, most important is the brainstorming techniques. And this is where we can involve everyone and get all the right data from the different stakeholders. So what are the brainstorming technology you suggest, which is the most effective, especially in case of Agile and the problems?
Okay. I use this with a lot of my clients. I say to them, look, especially because, as I said, I come from a manufacturing background, which is quite different. Because when you go into the software development, most people have done either a diploma or a high university degree, so they're educated, okay? And they know. But when you go into factory, some are illiterate, some high school or certain level of school. So they are used to be told what to do. So I'll give you a proverb that people say, we say, when you hire people, you hire them for their hands. Okay, the proverb says, no, you hire people for their heads, their hands come for free. And this is where we shut people down and not talk to them. And this is what I say to senior management about brainstorming. It's not about the technique as much as getting them to talk and not to fear. So when you talk to a shop floor, someone who's standing on a machine, and when they see the boss coming, they're like, okay, I hope he doesn't talk to me. He passes by. I say to them, when the first time you change the culture and you ask this poor person, okay, and say to him, what you're doing or something, when you ask them the question, they go through two shocks. The first shock, he's talking to me. Okay, why? I'm in trouble, what's happening? This happens in milliseconds, okay, and they're unconscious, but fear hits. As soon as they get over the fear, the second question that comes into mind is, what's the right answer? Okay, there is a right answer. I need to find it, okay? And this is where with practice saying, there's no right answer, just talk, express. You'll get more of these people, okay? Because they're the one who's standing there. They're the one in the systems. They know better what and how. But once you open the door to say, express, tell me what you can do differently, you get a flood of ideas, everything. And this is where fear hits in the top end now. How do we control this? We can't just leave everyone to think and do whatever. And I say, this is correct. We have a system, a methodology on how to approve ideas, how to do changes, how to handle all this. But there is a system where they're talking, we're managing all these ideas, and then we move forward. And this is where it's important at each level. You think that this is hard on the people on the lowest level, it's still hard on the top because they're not used to talking. They're not used to moving. So you need to tell them, go, ask, discuss. Don't build that fear of I'm on the shop floor, and because you're there for 1 minute, you did the fear for 1 minute, but the rest of 8 hours or however many hours, they're doing whatever they want. And this is where it's important to handle. So it's not the tool, it's about the openness.
Just a comment, actually, you're right about the fear factor. But I can add to one stage that maybe, I'm sure you are aware of, maybe just slipped it, that when they think, they start with the fear, they think what's the right answer, but they think, what is this about? What is this about?
Yeah.
That's why sometimes a good leader, a good manager, with posing the question, he tells them, what's this about? By the way,
Yeah.
this is not about punishment, this is not, and then that is another technique of soothing the atmosphere.
Totally agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For being here. It was a nice session.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a session by Peter. He'll be talking about the hubs, Agile transformation. And we will have a couple of minutes break, so you guys can go freshen up and then come back.